Get ready to speak geek.
People who get it, get it.
This is the Geek Speak Show. Geek is spoken here.
They're listening. You're consuming. You're watching with your ears. Oh, you just listen.
This is the Geek Speak Show. Hosted by the main speaker of Geek, Henry San Miguel. And interviews with the movers and shakers in geek culture.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick. Hey, this is Todd McFarlane.
I'm Ralph Bakshi.
Hi, this is Tara Platt.
And this is Yuri Lowenthal.
I'm Zach Whedon.
Here's the speaker for the Geek, Henry San Miguel. Here I am. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Geek Speak Show. So, we're going to do a couple of new episodes as we begin to end the year. Yeah, I know we still got a whole month to go, but like I said, here on the Geek Speak Show, we're going to end it just a little bit earlier just because we're getting ready to launch something pretty special. You all know what it is. It's the Geek Speak Podcast Network. Now, I know I asked for submissions and everything. You all came through, and I'm not going to take any more because we got more than enough to launch in January of 2014. It's a bunch of really, really cool podcasts that really deserve to have the name, to be under the Geek Speak banner. And all of you will get to hear them starting the second. I'm going to shoot for the second week of January. I was going to say January 2014, but specifically the second week of January 2014. Never mind. I was gonna tell you what I got, but I'm just gonna surprise you. I'm gonna give you. We're gonna miss Christmas with you guys, but I'll give you a late Christmas gift. Birthday gift, I guess, because it's, I don't know. I'll just give you, I'll just let you all experience the podcast when we launch in the second week of January, the Geek Speak Podcast Network. So again, thanks to everybody who sent us submissions for your podcast or ideas for your podcast. We went through every single one of them. If you haven't heard from us, you will, because we're taking our time and answering every single one of you. Since you took the time to send us stuff, we're going to take the time to say yay or nay, but thank you, no matter what. And again, we're not going to take any more submissions because we have more than enough podcasts to launch the network with. So again, thank you guys for sending that. I honestly, I was a little worried in the beginning because the first couple of days I got nothing, but then all of a sudden, avalanche of shows, and we're ready to launch it. The 2013 year-end Geek Awards, like I said, we're going to do this show, and then next week we're going to do a live show, well, quote-unquote live, a new show, put it that way, a new episode, and then we're going to do put up the awards show, and then we're done for 2013. Long year, well, it felt like it to me at least, but we're going to finish it off like we did last year with the 2013 year-end Geek Awards, but we got to know who to give the awards to, so that's where you come in. Go to the website, or if you're there already listening to the podcast, scroll down a tiny little bit with that thing that says vote. Well, guess what you do? You vote, and let us know what's the best movie, what's the worst movie, what's the best video game, and just vote on there, and I will announce all the winners in early December. Okay? So, like I was saying, for this show, we're going to relax a little bit as we get ready to stuff our turkeys and ourselves, quite honestly, next week. I figured, let's just relax for a bit before we get ready for the season finale next week. And let's take a look back at the year that was. We're not going to play every single interview. I'm going to play some of my favorites. That's not to say that the ones you're about to hear are the only ones that I liked. Everybody is fun. Everybody is worth having here on the Geek Speak Show. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on the Geek Speak Show. But these were extra special, extra fun. We're going to hear about Blood Kiss. It's a movie starring Neil Gaiman. Yes, the Sandman's Neil Gaiman. Making his acting debut. He's going to play a vampire in Amber Benson from Buffy. It's written by Michael Reaves. You can go to bloodkissmovie.com, find out more. Roddenberry is a good friend of the show. He's been on, I don't know how many, since the very first year. He's been on, I don't know how many times. Dr. Andrea Letamendi, where you can follow her at Arkham Asylum Dog. She came on, and we did the psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars. Got pretty fun. I'm going to play you a sample of that stuff. And we're also going to hear from Gavin Hignight from FearNet, and also the writer of The Concrete World, The Freak Table, and Motor City. The Winter Twins are going to finish it up. It was a fun interview. We talked about some of the Strand Prophecy, of course, their book that they read, the sci-fi book that they read. They're working on the third one, the secret writing method for the Winter Twins secret writing method. We talked about that. And towards the end, we just geeked out about all the movies that were at the time. And of course, we had to talk Star Trek Into Darkness. So that's all in there. So let's relax. Let's take a look back at a little bit of the year that was 2013. Let's start it off, like I said, with Blood Kiss, a vamp noir film written by Michael Reaves, starring Neil Gaiman and Amber Benson. Bloodkissmovie.com for any updates. It was a Kickstarter project. It had just kicked off when we did this interview. They surpassed the goal that they set out. So they're actually, as we speak, literally that they are speaking to a few A-list directors to direct Blood Kiss, and they'll update you probably, I would say, in early January or early 2014 on what's going on. But in the meantime, here is Amber Benson and Michael Reaves to talk about Blood Kiss, a vamp noir film.
This is Mark Zickery, writer, producer, and director of Space Command, and you're listening to the Geek Speak Show.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You are listening to the Geek Speak Show going on now. We got a lot of people today, huh?
A lot of guests.
I like it when it's like that we don't have to talk a lot.
It's jam-packed.
Yeah, so another really, really cool project we had. Mark Zickery, just heard him right now. We heard him on when Space Command came out. You guys got behind it 1,000%. Big things going to happening with Space Command. He's going to actually come on pretty soon and give us an update on that. So be on the lookout for that. But right now, something else that is very, very, very cool, especially with who's involved. It's called Blood Kiss. Just kicked off today. It's a Kickstarter project. On to talk about it is creator, writer Michael Reaves. Yeah, that Michael Reaves. Also, Amber Benson. Y'all remember her. So, guys, welcome to the Geek Speak Show.
Oh, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's kick off with the creator, the writer, with Michael. Michael, with Blood Kiss, you're creating. The press release I got calls it vamp noir, which is a new genre. We've never really heard of this. What's so different about these vampires from when we've seen in Dracula and the current ones, and the ones that sparkle and everything? What is so different about these?
Why don't you ask Amber a question?
Talk to Amber. She'll check. Yeah, hit me. Ask me not physically hit me, but just ask me a question.
Okay, Amber, you've had some experience with vampires before. What drew you to another vampire role?
It was Michael. He's just, first of all, an awesome person. And he's written this really, just beautiful noir vampire story that I hadn't really seen before. And he also enticed me because there would be some singing involved. And I'm a singing whore. That sounds weird. But anybody throws singing at me and I get very excited. So it was the script, and it was working with Michael. Yeah, that was what drew me to the project.
I was gonna say we've heard your singing with feeling, even. With feeling,
I make people complete, or other people make me complete. I'm not sure what it is.
And when you were told you're going to be acting next to Neil Gaiman, and yes, that Neil Gaiman, what was your reaction?
Yeah, not the Neil Gaiman of Orlando, Florida, but right. Who works in insurance adjusting. I'm a big fan of Neil's. He's an amazingly talented human being. Does all kinds of cool stuff. And I think he's done maybe one other little thing, but this is the first time I think he's going to be doing a full-on crazy fun character, and I wanted to be a part of that. I think he's just an awesome person and just big-hearted. Aside from being super talented, he just has a really big heart. And I wanted to work with him for sure.
Have you had a chance to meet with him or talk to him?
I have. I actually poor Neil and Michael had to ride in my car. I drove them the first time I met with them about the project. Mark Zickery was there, and Michael and Neil, and it was just a really fun afternoon. I was a little sleep deprived, and then they needed Michael and Neil needed a ride, so I actually drove them from the Chateau Marmont to the hotel where Neil was staying, and I think I frightened them terribly with my poor driving. I am not the greatest driver in the world.
You don't say.
and I had them like wedged into my small little black Toyota Prius, going really fast down Sunset Boulevard.
At least you were getting some good MPG.
I had really good miles per gallon with two super talented people in my car. So I had precious cargo. I needed to be careful, and instead I was just flying, trying to get them there without falling asleep at the wheel. It was very exciting.
We're talking to Amber Benson. She is in Blood Kiss along with Neil Gaiman. Yeah, that Neil Gaiman, like we said. You guys can get behind it. PledgeBloodKiss.com is a website. It's on our link section. You can go there and get behind it and find out more about it. Tell us, Amber, you're in it without too many spoilers or any spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to go into any stuff because I think it's something that like I think if you just say noir vampire, that kind of says it. I don't want to give anything away, but it's like a cool take on the vampire mythos. It's more from like I would say it's sort of its own unique mythos. I don't want to go into too much, but mix that with the noir and you have something that I haven't seen before.
Michael's ready to talk about this.
Yeah.
I was about to say, actually, and we do have Michael Reaves who actually wrote Blood Kiss, so he can tell us more about it. So jump on that one, Michael. What is different about these vampires that we haven't seen before?
Most of your classic vamps, such as Dracula, Lestat, or even Count York, are supernatural in origin, and generally snappy dresses. By no means saying it's necessary to don white tie and opera cloak every time one leaves the coffin in search of a light drink, but on the whole I think dressing to kill does lend a certain gravitas to lines such as "the blood is the life." The main difference between other vamps, even the twinkly teeth ones, is that ours are primarily biological in origin.
So that's Michael's answer, delivered by computer.
Yeah.
That's a pretty sexy voice, Michael.
Yeah.
I like the quasi-British tone to the voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got to get me one of those too.
I think you got it all over the Stephen Hawking voice. Yours is quite a bit sexier.
And Michael, another question for you is why choose? It's set in 1940s Hollywood. Why choose 1940s Hollywood as the backdrop for this film?
Because that's where film noir was perfected, of course. What? We're gonna look for low-angle cliques throwing long, ominous shadows in 60s movies. Come on. Dirty Harry and Bullet were too busy blowing away hippies stoned on Telesign to worry about pansy stuff like my Zane scene.
That's true. That's definitely true about Dirty Harry.
Some sexy mise-en-scene there. There's just something super sexy about the 40s film noir. I mean, Kiss Me Deadly. You got the Chinatown sort of thing going. I mean, like, there's just something inherently like vampiric about that time, and I think setting the film in that world just enhances what's already part of the vampire mythology. That sexy sort of immortality mixed with that film noir, the dark shadows, as Michael was saying, and it's just, I think it's a perfect location for that sort of retelling of a vampire story in a new and different way.
Yeah, and then also because like the 1940s was a time where like in terms of the vampire mythos, you have like the old school vampire, and then the 1800s, and then early 1900s, but then like that time period gets skipped. So
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and Amber, you can jump in on this one also. I'll get back to Michael in a second. Do you know, is it going to be filmed in color, or is it going to be black and white?
You know, I don't know what's going to end up ultimately happening. I think it's gonna be per what the creative team comes up with. I think right now what we're really focusing on is getting the Kickstarter campaign going and getting the budget in place so that we can then make those creative decisions. I think whatever Michael and the creative team come up with will be amazing. If it's black and white, I'm like 150%. If it's color, I'm 150% in. I think you can have arguments for both sides of that creative sort of question.
Yeah, I think it's in good hands either way. You're right, and again, they're going to count on you guys. It's a crowdfunded project. Go to pledgebloodkiss.com. Go to our link section. It's all in there. Get behind it. Find out more about it. You're hearing it right now. Amber Benson is in it. Yeah, Neil Gaiman is in it also. Michael Reaves wrote it. What more do you want? Michael, let's go back to you. Amber didn't give us any spoilers. You do the same thing without spoiling anything. Tell us a little bit about the Blood Kiss story.
Hard-boiled private eye is hired to bodyguard mysterious shunters. By the time he learns she's a vampire and her stalker is a vamp slayer, he's already fallen for her. Hijinks ensue.
Fade to black.
See, and that's how you describe something without spoiling anything.
Exactly. I'm so scared. I don't want to say anything that's going to spoil it. I just can't wait for people to see the movie. They're going to freak out.
Yeah, and speaking of freaking out because they hear the name, Michael, what made you ask Neil Gaiman to make his acting debut in Blood Kiss?
Once you see the movie, you won't need to ask. Let's just in crosses Neil Gaiman. Or vice versa. I'm never quite sure.
Spoken like a true gentleman.
And can you talk about any other actors in Blood Kiss?
Amber Benson plays Ruby Day, a torch singer who's super sexy and can really sing. Always a prerequisite for a shunters. And Christina Moses, who was terrific in my Star Trek web episode. And maybe a few other surprises.
It's funny how that's kind of how you described yourself, Amber, a second ago.
Oh. Yes. I like the wild questions because I'm a sexy chanteuse. No, I'm...
You should put that on your business card.
I should. I should have... I'm looking at the Kickstarter page right now for Blood Kiss, and we literally have 69 backers. I was like, that is the naughtiest...
Leave it at that. Start another one.
No. Then we got 169, 269. It's all the variations on 69.
I believe you have everyone's attention now.
No, I love film noir, and when I read, what Michael had done with that character, I was like, oh, this is like, she's like all those amazing, like, femme fatale-esque characters from those films. There's something mysterious and dark and vulnerable even about her. And the fact, like I said, the fact that she sings was super important to me. But I never get to play those characters. I think I did an episode of Tim Minier's short-lived series, The Inside, and I got to play sort of a bad girl in that. But usually I'm like the nice, earnest, sweet girl. And so when Michael was like, I see you as this character, I was like, oh, I love you forever. You're awesome. Because I feel like that girl on the inside. Oh, we've left 69. We're now at 70 backers. Damn it. No, we want more and more backers. But I was so excited to be able to play a part like that because, like I said, people don't always see me in that light. And I feel like a super sexy girl on the inside. And I know I can play that. I'm an actor. I'm supposed to be able to play anything, right? But to have someone like Michael, who's been doing this for such a long time and is so well respected in the industry, that for him to vouch for me and say, yeah, Amber is my gal, was really, it made me feel very special and very loved.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Let me go back to Michael again. Michael, who's going to be directing Blood Kiss?
At this point, we're talking to several people. I'm insisting on someone with jodhpurs and a megaphone.
Old school director. I mean, it's noir, so you got to go noir.
And also, again, this one's also for Michael. With Blood Kiss having all the names that it has attached and maybe will have attached in the future, why did you decide to bypass the traditional studio route and instead go to us to do a crowdfunding thing?
Because we believe that the script works the way it is. Also, I have faith that it will get funded. And that means no obstacles to making it. I didn't want it sitting on an office shelf in a studio.
Yeah, and Amber, you have experience, sitting in studios and doing the big productions. Would you want to do more of these kind of projects, like Kickstarters or crowdfunded projects?
I think putting the ability to make your film autonomously in the hands of directors and creative people, I think that is the next step. I feel like we're in the Wild West right now. And yes, I love working on studio projects. Working on stuff like Buffy it's an amazing experience and amazing time, but you do have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. And when you're doing something via Kickstarter, you get to do it autonomously. You don't have people with Harvard MBAs telling you how to be creative. You have a creative team who are passionate about something, working together to make the best product possible. Do you know what I mean? You're cutting out that middleman. And as much as the middleman is a great thing, and I'm not knocking it, I just think with a movie like Blood Kiss, they'd want things changed. They'd want to, and for unilateral reasons, not because it makes it better, but because people want to put their fingers into the pie and sort of put their stamp on it. And I know everything is sexual. Sorry, you guys.
I don't mind.
I'm used to it with Joel. I get the same thing from him.
But with this, it's the script is great as it is, and I think toying with it would just hurt it. I think it needs to be done as it is, and Kickstarter allows us to do that. And this is Michael's baby, and he doesn't have 50 years to wait for some studio to greenlight it. He wants to make it now, and it's a passion project for him, and I want to be a part of that. I want to help him get this made, and Kickstarter was the way to do it.
Yeah, and Michael, let me go back to you again. What can our listeners do? I mean, the obvious, you hear it from Amber. What can our listeners do to get behind Blood Kiss besides just getting on the Kickstarter? But what else can they do to get behind Blood Kiss?
Go to pledgebloodkiss.com and put millions of dollars in a brown.
Simple as that.
There. That didn't hurt much, did it?
I love that voice, actually.
It's a super sexy voice, right?
It's like we're talking to Jarvis.
I love it.
Jarvis, get us millions for the production, please.
I think also people spreading the word about the film. I know there are people out there that don't have disposable income, and if you can't donate, that's cool. Just tweet about us, Facebook us, tell your friends, get the word out, make YouTube videos about it. Anything that you can do to spread the word and to get people excited about the project, that's super important.
Yeah, I mean, our listeners get behind, they got behind Space Command. We've had other Kickstarter projects. Help Them Alive was another one that comes to mind.
That X-Wing fighter or that...
Yeah, building the Millennium Falcon, the life size. They get behind it. They love, because like you said earlier, Amber, it's you hear the passion in the people that are behind it. It's not just, I'm going to show up to the studio and go to work and that's it. It is a passion project, and people love that, and they do get behind it. But like every other Kickstarter, they also want to know, what's my rewards? What do I get for it? So Michael, will go ahead and tell them, what are the rewards for backing Blood Kiss?
More varied and wondrous than you can possibly imagine.
You can see them all on the Kickstarter site. They range from getting a copy of the movie to getting a signed copy of the poster by our two brilliant design artists, Christopher D. Salmon and Tom Mandrake, to getting a custom-made set of vampire fangs.
Huh. Who wouldn't want that?
It's like grills, but with fangs.
That's really how they got me involved in this. They're like, Amber, we're going to make you some teeth. And I was like, I'm in. Make me teeth.
Yeah.
And Michael, when after all this is done, when do you expect? I know you kind of give an exact date, but about when do you expect to have Blood Kiss ready?
That's hard to say at this point. We're looking at a release at the end of next year, but it could be sooner. Time and money kind of go together. So if we get really strong support, financial support, we can hire more people and get things done faster.
And where is it going to be? Where is it going to be seen? You hope to have it in the festival circuit, or where do you hope or it's going to be on the website, or where?
hey, we're making this for you, the fans. We're fans too, and we're making a movie that we want to see and that we think you want to see too. So it's going to be everywhere. We want it on video on demand. We want it in theaters. We want it in festivals. Basically, there's more places for content to be seen than ever before, and we're going to go wherever we're welcome.
Not that they need any more reasons, but Amber, tell our listeners from you. Look, I was going to say look into the camera, but we don't have a camera in front of us. But look into the microphone and tell them why they should get behind Blood Kiss.
Number one, okay, these are the reasons. I'm going to give you 3 reasons why they should get behind Blood Kiss. Number one, it's just good writing, and it's going to be a good film. Like, you're just helping us create something really that's just top-notch and good. The second reason is because, come on, we all want to see Neil Gaiman on screen, right? That's
exactly
freaking cool, right? And you want to see me sing. Those are 2 good reasons. And then the third reason you should do it is because Michael deserves this. Michael has worked really hard and has had an amazing career, and this is sort of the penultimate paradigm of that career. And I think to help him make this happen, that's why you should be involved in it. People should check out the Kickstarter, see Michael's story. He's an impressive person, and he is battling it's an uphill battle. He's battling a lot of stuff, and he is still being creative and making good art, and we need to get behind that and support him.
There it is, directly from Amber Benson. Go to Pledge Blood Kiss, if I can say it correctly, pledgebloodkiss.com. Have it up in our link section. You guys can get behind it. Amber, what are we at? It was at 70 a minute ago. Do you have it in front of you?
72 backers, and we've raised over $5,000, and it's been up for no time at all. It's kind of amazing.
Nice.
Holy my God.
Do you guys have a goal of how much you're trying to raise?
Right now, the pledge goal is $50,000.
Ooh. You're 10% there then.
Yeah, I think you're going to reach that pretty soon.
Yeah.
It would be awesome to make this happen super fast. And that's really dependent on your listeners getting excited and joining us in this project and being part of an amazing creative endeavor. You're not just giving your money, you're part of the project. You become a member of the Blood Kiss family, and that's super exciting.
Yeah, so again, it's Amber Benson. She's in Blood Kiss. Michael Reaves, creator, writer. Thank you, both of you, for coming on. I wish you nothing but success. You're welcome back anytime to give us any updates or any casting announcements, or when you do have a director, he or she is more than welcome to come on and talk more Blood Kiss.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you guys so much for having us on. Yay!
Yeah, the rest of you, like I said, go right now. Go. PledgeBloodKiss.com. Get behind it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So on the day that the Kickstarter kicked off, that was Amber Benson, Michael Reaves, talking about a Blood Kiss, BloodKissMovie.com. They met their funding. It's funded, as I mentioned before I play that interview for you guys. They are talking to a few A-list directors. I won't say who because they haven't mentioned who. They can't say who it is, but they'll update you early January or early 2014. We'll put it that way, on who exactly is going to be directing Blood Kiss. So now, the weekend that Star Trek Into Darkness premiered in theaters, the day it opened in theaters, we decided to do something a little bit fun here on the show. We did the psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars. Of course, it turned into Star Trek versus Star Wars with Rachel here. But it was a continuation of a panel from WonderCon, and then it continued again at San Diego Comic-Con. But we did it here on the show. Usually on the panel, it's done by two real doctors. Dr. Andrea Letamendi takes the war side, and Dr. Wally Matu takes the Star Trek side. This time around, Andrea Letamendi at Arkham Asylum, you guys can follow her on Twitter. She came on, and her and Rachel, of course, were Team Star Wars. Instead of having Dr. Ali Matu, I brought my big photon torpedo. I brought Roddenberry, and Rod and myself became Team Trek. So I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm going to play you a few snippets, some of the interesting questions that we get from some of you guys, and some that we came up with ourselves, and the discussion that came out of those. And right after this, I'll tell you who actually won, because we left it up to you guys. So we'll tell you who you voted as the winner of the psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars discussion. Here's Rod Roddenberry, myself, Dr. Andrea Letamendi, and Rachel discussing Star Trek versus Star Wars. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first one is which of the universes has the better villains?
Go ahead, Rod. Tell us what you think.
No, it depends on, there's the two main differences between Star Trek. Well, there's many, but at least when it comes to villains, there's black and white villains. There's just the bad guy. There's evil, using the dark side of the Force. But then there can also be the bad guy that you empathize with. I keep going from, let's just say Vader, who I will admit in Jedi, there was good within him. So I don't want to make him just black and white, but he was pretty much just evil. I'm going to jump to the Horda, which I'm not saying is my number one villain, but the Horda, in the end, you learn it's a mother protecting its young. So it starts off as the bad guy or the evil thing. But then you realize the devil in the dark was not the Horda. The devil in the dark was humanity. We were the ones that were attacking this thing without trying to understand what it was. And once we did that, we realized that we really weren't that different in terms of what we would do to protect our children. So best villains, I will definitely say, not because my father created it, but I will say Star Trek because there's countless episodes and countless shows where there is depth. There are many dimensions to the bad guy. Q really wasn't that bad of a guy necessarily.
I have to agree with Rod in the sense that the best villains are the ones that actually show elements of humanity. And this actually was a topic. Villains was one of the biggest topics from the panel. And I do have to say, just, full disclosure, that I know that there have been a lot of these sort of, Star Wars versus Star Trek battles where they go into the physics or astronomy or, various technologies. When it comes down to the psychology, when it comes down to comparing the psychological science of both franchises, they both actually do a really fantastic job of creating these really dynamic, very complex characters when it comes to villains. I would actually say, now we know that in Jedi, of course, Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader, for the most part in the original trilogy sort of represents, he's all in black, he's masked, he represents this, this terrifying, just like Rachel was saying before the show, this horrific, terrifying villain. But I will mention that if anything, what the prequels gave us was this, developmental psychological backstory that tells us that actually this guy was born fairly kind and okay. He was, we see him as a kid and we see him growing up, and what made him into a villain was actually all this adversity, traumatic stressors, loss, death of people close to him. He lived in a world where it was unsafe. He lived in a world that was, to him, horrifying and terrifying and evil. And so he turned into this, this character that embodied that. And so I will say Star Wars because, once you give us that backstory, then you see that there is this dynamic villain that does represent a realistic trajectory, a realistic development of evil.
Rachel, you want to jump in?
Yeah. Okay. So you guys went one side of that and a little deeper and whatever. I'm going to go a little bit more into the present day stuff. So the villains in both sides, they both of them have pretty good ones. But all I have to do to make wars win is say Boba Fett. We have bounty hunters and we have Darth Vader and Darth Maul and Admiral Thrawn. And if you go to any convention, even if it's the Big Wow Comic Fest that was just happening this weekend, there are so many Star Wars villains, more than there are anything else, I think, that people are dressing up as, that have the shirts as, that they say, this is my favorite. So if we're talking about better villains, we win.
I'll say
have
cooler
so
villains. Star Wars definitely has much cooler villains. I would give that. Yeah, absolutely. Darth Maul was a badass. There's not a single villain in Star Trek that I can think of that I would say is badass. So it really depends on which direction you're coming at this from. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out with Rod, not just because he's on my team, but because I've always liked the Star Trek villains because of that. They've always had some sort of twist in them, and sometimes it makes us look at ourselves because like Rod said with the Devil in the Dark episode, it forces us to look at us. Like, what are we doing wrong? We right away, just because we don't understand it or because it looks like a monster, it has to be bad, evil. But the reality is, like Rod said, it's only a mother protecting its young. And there's a lot of instances. Next Generation did that also. Voyager, not so much. It tried to, but that's the beauty of the Star Trek episodes, and not so much into the movies because they're different. But even Khan a little bit. If you look at it from his point of view, the original Khan, not the new one, there was a reason for his wrath. There was a reason for him hating Kirk so much, and it's because to him, he's protecting the people that he cared the most. He blamed them for the death of his wife and all of that. So it's a little deeper. The Star Trek villains go a little bit deeper, but for coolness, yeah, I'll give it to you, Rachel. Star Wars has the coolest ones. So the next one is which of the two franchises? Which one has had the biggest influence on humanity as a whole?
Oh, come on.
Oh.
But what sort of influence, though? Is this people dressing up in costume, or are you talking about positive impact?
Yeah, again, Rachel, that's one of yours.
Well, hey, so what I was basing this on was how many people say, Trek is my favorite show, favorite thing, or Wars is my favorite thing, or I own a bunch of stuff because I love it, or I went into film because of this, or things like that, influencing people's lives.
Yeah, well, actually, Rod, not to interrupt you guys, but Rod, your dad and you actually have pretty good stories from astronauts about Star Trek. So you want to talk about that?
Oh.
Here's the difficulty I have with this question is that if the question is how many people know about one of these things and are entertained by it and may own a prop or a costume or may go to conventions, I might actually give it to Star Wars because I think Star Wars has a larger reach than Star Trek in terms of all the kids out there, in terms of all the adults, all the people who saw it in the 70s or late whatever, 79. What was the first one? 79? Whatever.
77.
77. So I would almost give it, I'd say Star Wars has the largest reach, has the largest impact in terms of people knowing about it and thinking it's a cool movie. Star Trek, I think, has the deepest impact. I think that's the one that has, touched the lives and has influenced people to believe themselves and become things that they never thought they could. I'm not saying that's the only thing Star Trek does. Star Trek can just be entertaining as well, but it's amazing how many people I've met from all over the world who have come up to me and said that Star Trek inspired me to do this or that, whether it's overcoming a handicap or seeing through a handicap or becoming an astronaut. The stories, I don't want to say that's impossible with Star Wars, but I've never heard that with Star Wars. So I'll definitely give that side of it to Star Trek.
Same
yeah,
here.
I absolutely agree in the sense that it depends on what you mean by the impact. As far as a scientific impact, I think that Star Trek, definitely, takes that. As far as sort of numbers goes or fandom goes, I do feel like I run into more people that like Star Wars more. But it has to, I think that has to do with a lot of things. They're not, this goes back to the fundamental problem with comparing these two things just on a basic level, that in my mind, they represent, two different things when it comes to the impact on us or the impact on humanity. That I always felt like Star Wars was this, I always say Star Trek is about social psychology. Star Trek is about, societies and worlds and how they work together. And we should be mindful of these things. Whereas Star Wars is sort of like the individual psychology. What is one person capable of? Thinking of Luke Skywalker, or Anakin Skywalker, or, any of these characters, that it really has to do with individual psychology. And that can be particularly inspiring, which is why I think that sort of builds fans who doesn't want to hold a lightsaber and say that they can save the galaxy. Whereas, again, Star Trek has this more, I guess, public impact about, sort of forcing us to think about humanity and think about our future and think about how, sort of like Rod said, deeper issues that may be more realistic issues that is less of an escapism, I would say, than Star Wars is.
Star Trek is I want to let the rest of you talk, but I think Star Trek really is, that could be a future for us.
Right.
Some of us might be more pessimistic about who we are and what we're doing as a species. And believe me, I have my days of that as well. But it's not so far out of the realm of possibility that we could live in a future like that. I'm not saying it has to have Starfleet. I'm just saying we could be those better people, still making plenty of mistakes, but being willing to make those mistakes and learn from them. Star Wars, I don't mean to diminish it by calling it just entertainment, but I think you did say it pretty well just now. I mean, it is entertainment. It is more of a personal psychology. But for me, and this is going to sound like I'm Gene Roddenberry's son. So for me, Star Wars is fun, entertainment. I'm not sure you can come away with too much except for I want to do the right thing. I want to do the right, whatever right is.
Absolutely, which is why I think that Star Wars helps you forget and Star Trek makes you remember. And
well put.
You can love both of them equally because of that, that difference.
I like that line. You're going to hear me say that line some point.
Yay!
I like that. Stolen.
That is very
totally
good.
Stolen. Awesome. What's the question again?
Yeah, what are we talking about? Which...
I actually had a question, but I don't want to derail the one conversation we're on right now.
Well, go ahead. Throw it out.
Okay, so here's my question for you guys and the fans out there. And I'm still figuring out how to ask this. So if you needed to follow a leader into space or on a ship or into battle, out of Solo, Skywalker, Picard, Kirk, and all the other captains, and you could open up all the other characters as well, Vader, if you want to follow him, which one would you follow and why? If someone had to be the leader of your ship or the leader of your team, who would it be?
I would pick Obi-Wan.
Oh.
Obi-Wan would be my leader. Because he's been through everything. He's been through so much crap. He went through the military section with the Clone Wars. He went through all the emotional stuff with having to deal with Anakin and his children. He went through pulling away from everything he knew and loved and letting it all go and hiding away just to make sure that he redeemed his last mission, which was to make sure that Luke was okay and to bring back something of the Jedi. And as a general and as a Jedi master, when he led, he was very logical. He had the greater good in mind, but he cared enough about his people to let the exceptions go. And so if I was going to follow someone, it would be him, because even if I had to make a decision that went against whatever it was that we were doing, I know that I could give him the reason why, and that it would be redeeming, that he would still say, you did the right thing.
Well, wouldn't that be kind of creepy, though? I mean, you're taking a shower, all of a sudden he appears. Obi-Wan, what are you doing in here?
You know what? If it's the younger one, I wouldn't really mind.
Oh.
There you go. Who's
Andrea,
next?
How about you?
This may be surprising, but I actually would go with Picard. I just feel safer with Picard.
It's the accent, right?
It is. It's that he has, again, just sort of putting on the psychology hat again, he has both a combination of sort of this resiliency and strength and control and power, but he also has that emotional piece that he's willing to go to bat for you. At the end of the day, he will protect you. And I don't know that I can say that for, a lot of characters from either universes. I feel that he is, to me, the safest, the most rational. He would, if I had the opportunity to captain my own ship, he would approve and be very respectful and let me go. But at the same time, if I made the decision to stick to it and be at his side on his ship, we would have a very, very appropriate professional relationship, but also one that I feel would be very validating and very exciting. So I don't know. I'm going to go with Picard on this one.
Rod, how about you?
Well, you took it. I was going to let you guys all answer. Who just spoke, Drea or Rachel?
That was Drea.
Oh, Rachel, what was your thought? Oh, you went for Obi-Wan.
I had Obi, yes.
All right. Well, Henry.
Well, mine, I've said it many times on the show. Mine, it would be Captain James T. Kirk. because as a little kid, that's who I wanted to be more than Luke Skywalker. I mean, I like that. He when he sits in that chair, he is the Enterprise. He you want to follow him, and if he says go through that wormhole, we'll go through that wormhole. Who cares on the other side? I'll take on the Gorn. We'll take on the Gorn, even if he just gets some dust and whatever kills him that way. That's who I want to be, because kind of like Andrea mentioned with Picard, he has a little bit of both. He has the superhuman, not that he is he flies or anything, there's no superpowers, but he has the superhuman elements about him, but he's also human at the same time, and he balances those perfectly in whatever the situation calls for. So that's why I would go with Captain Kirk.
Okay, yeah, my answer is not exciting because I'm a Picard guy as well. I would feel safer, and I would trust Picard to delegate and listen to the people he's delegated to and search for a diplomatic solution, even though that's not necessarily great sci-fi and can be boring sometimes. Real life, I would rather be on Picard's ship than especially Kirk's, and I don't know, Han Solo is also too much of a cowboy for me, so.
I love that about him.
Well, he's fun to watch, don't get me wrong. Love Han Solo to watch. I'm glad I'm doing it on the other side of the TV screen.
Plus, he's a scoundrel. You don't know if he's gonna, give you up or what's he gonna do.
I wouldn't bring my women near any of them except maybe Picard. Jesus.
Yes.
That's a great question. I love it.
So we're going to start wrapping it up here. These last ones are from you guys, actually, from all your listeners. A few of you, and you've had these conversations. I've seen them. I've heard them at conventions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, which universe has benefited more from retellings? And for Star Wars, that would include the special editions, the prequels. For Star Trek, obviously, JJ's 2009 and Now Into Darkness. So which one of these universes has benefited from retellings of the stories?
It's a really good question. No idea.
This one's not fair because I have to give it to Trek, and everyone's going to hate me for that. But as much as I love the prequels, because I do, and I will defend them to everyone, the new Star Trek, I think...
Even Episode 1?
I love Episode 1, and you know that. Yes, I love all of them. But the new Star Trek has brought a whole lot more people into liking Star Trek or admitting it and all of that than the prequels did. The prequels brought in a new generation, the younger generation. It tied it in where they started watching Clone Wars and brought all of them in. But I personally know more people that now will say, yes, I like Star Trek, where they would have never before because of the J.J. Abrams movies. Whereas the prequels, I'm always defending Star Wars of them. So, yeah.
I can't answer that, guys. I need to think a bit more. Someone else has got to answer.
Drea, jump in?
Yeah, I think it's tough because, here we start talking about the new Star Trek movies. And I think that there's this sort of like cyclical sort of, I guess, pattern with Star Trek where, Star Trek has been around longer. We have these characters that just must stay in the narrative. And so sadly, I say sadly because those of us who know some of the Star Trek stories, sometimes the stories are being revisited and re-envisioned. And some fans really like that and feel, sort of satisfied and nostalgic about it, and they're enjoying the last couple of films. Some folks are ready for new stories and new adventures. And I think that Star Wars, if I can say, is better at this in creating new stories and giving us more backstories, more histories, more development, but not retelling relationships and stories that we kind of already know about, to the point where some of the same quotes and some of the same scenarios are being reused. And again, some people love this sort of, it absolutely respects and glorifies and honors these, very important characters from Star Trek and the very important relationships they had. But, I'm very much sort of wanting more creative relationships and stories. These original stories existed. We know where to find them. They are fantastic in their original form. Let's have some newness and creativity.
Rod, are you ready? I'm going to jump in.
No, I mean, I don't have much on this because I'm really struggling. Star Trek until these new movies really was I certainly don't want to say withering audience, but the people who are diehard Trek fans are are in their 30s and 40s and 50s and plus, and it's been really hard for Star Trek to get the younger audience. These new movies, I haven't paid attention to the numbers. I don't know what they're doing. I think these new movies are doing a lot for bringing in a younger audience. The question is, what are they bringing this new audience into? Are they bringing them into a Star Trek that is more like Star Wars and therefore doesn't have the same social impact as the original series did? Or are they bringing them in and are they causing these kids, I'll call them, to go back and look at the other shows and actually get somewhat influenced or inspired? So I don't know is the answer. I don't know. I hope Star Trek is bringing the people in, but what is it bringing them into? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I'm on board with that one also. And Andrea, what you were saying also is that it's a fun movie, really fun movie. Both of them, Into Darkness and the original, the 2009 Star Trek. The prequels, they didn't take away or add anything. They just made the fans that were already there. They made them bigger fans. And the new, like my son, he was only 3 or 4 at the time. He loves even more because he got to experience, going to midnight screenings and everything with Dad. So it didn't really change the story too much. The Star Trek, like Rod was just saying, and Rod, I think you and I long time ago when no, I'm not gonna go there. No, then the galaxy far, far away. But when we first started the show back in 2010, I think it was, when you first came on to talk about Trek Nation, the 2009 Star Trek had just come out, and we talked about that actually at the end. That it was a fun movie, like I said, but it didn't speak to us. Well, me especially as a real diehard Star Trek fan from the original, that wasn't the same Kirk that I was used to. At the very end, when they decided to just fire everything at Nero instead of offering him help or whatever, that's not the Kirk we remember. And I know that's part of the marketing. It's not your dad's Star Trek, but like you said, Rod, and I agree completely with that. Is what are you giving them? What kind of Star Trek are you giving this new audience? Is it a Star Wars like Star Trek, or is it going to be a new Star Trek? Because a lot of the things that were touched on in the original series, Next Generation, most of the series, and most of the following series, and some of the movies, but mainly the TV series, a lot of that stuff, technology included, has become reality. And with Star Wars, and we're still waiting for the lightsabers and everything, but most of the stuff in Star Trek has become reality. And so, what are the movies going to give you? Is it just going to be a fun popcorn movie, or will there be messages? And whoever, because I'm sure JJ probably won't be able to do the next one because of Star Wars, whoever takes it on, how do you balance for the studios bringing in the audience but not boring them when they're in there?
I'm with you. And here, if I could just jump in with what I hope the new movies will do based on what I've seen and what I'm taking out of them is I've given, oh God, forgiveness is not the right word. I really liked both movies. I really genuinely liked both movies. The issues that I had with the first one, which were relatively minor, and I'm very forgiving. I'm just not diehard, and I'm not going to pull any of these movies apart until I can deliver a script to them that's better than theirs. So I got to put my money where my mouth is, and right now I know I can't do that. So I got to give the writers tremendous credit for both movies. The first one, it took me a while, but I got it. It's a young Kirk and a young Spock, and I know that sounds obvious, but they're brash. They're making impulsive decisions. They're not always making the right decisions. They're willing to they're willing to shoot all the torpedoes. This last one, it was a real development of their characters, where the whole movie was that way. Pike was chastising Kirk right at the beginning, saying, you're doing things you don't think the rules apply to you. And through this last movie, I think sort of matured, not just as a Starfleet officer, but as a person and what it means to be a person of that future. So in the end, even though, it's a bit of a monologue, they have that great speech about not going into darkness and being that better human and being that better person. And so the minute I saw that, it made me, anything else I may not have liked in the most recent Star Trek movie, I loved it. The minute it was sort of about that, being that better human being, that was what made this Star Trek worthwhile to me. You can pick apart so many other things. Why did they go with Khan? Not that they did. I hate to give out a spoiler. It could have been someone else, this John Harrison guy. But
this audience knows by now. Go ahead and spoil all you want.
Okay. Well, yes, I think I just did. I really enjoyed it for that reason, and that's all I'll say.
Another fun discussion, the psychology of Star Trek versus Star Wars. Team Wars, of course, was Andrea, Letamendi, and Rachel. And Team Trek was Roddenberry and myself. Now, we left it up to you guys afterwards. You voted, and you gave it to Star Wars, of course. So Star Wars won that round. Again, they did it again at San Diego Comic-Con. And from what I understand, I believe Star Trek won that one. And they also won it at WonderCon. So that's 2-1. Yeah, we know who won that one. But it's okay. It's okay. 2015 is right around the corner. Star Wars, it'll be your year that year. So not to worry, Rachel. So going on with taking a look back at the year that was. Now, again, these aren't the only interviews that I like. These are just a few of the really fun ones. Everybody was fun this year. It really was. This one was Gavin Hignight. We actually met him at WonderCon earlier this year in Anaheim. He's from FearNet, and he's also the writer of the Concrete World, the Freak Table, and the Motor City. You can go to GavinHignight.com for more information on that. But Gavin came on. He came on right when Iron Man 3 had just come out in the theaters. We just finished a spoiler-filled discussion. I won't replay that. I think you all have your opinions on Iron Man 3 by now. But we do talk about a little bit about the upcoming summer movies. We were really excited about Star Trek Into Darkness because we hadn't seen it yet at the time. And, you'll listen to the interview. Again, another fun interview with Gavin Hignight from FearNet and writer of the Concrete World, the Freak Table, and Motor City on the Geek Speak show from back in summer. Here's Gavin Hignight.
This is Mark Zickery, writer, producer, director of Space Command, and you're listening to the Geek Speak show.
And look who is at our door. It is Gavin Hignight. Gavin, welcome to the Geek Speak show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Hey,
thanks for dropping by. So we were just talking about Iron Man, and you said that you had to admit you haven't actually
seen it yet.
Yeah, it's been kind of a busy couple months, and as much as I love Iron Man, I've not had a chance to get to the theater yet. So I will probably go later today or tomorrow. So
at least you'll get a better seat,
Well, I'll say this: when you listen to the show, skip the intro because we went full on spoilers. So
I think it was like 17 minutes worth of spoilers.
Okay, noted.
Yeah, but
since you haven't seen that, what else are you looking forward to seeing? Because I know I've mentioned at the end that I have some stuff that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Star Trek is the top of my list, I think.
You don't say.
Yeah, super excited for that. I've kind of stopped watching trailers and tried to stop paying attention to media on it just because, we're at like the boiling point where like all the, people start slipping stuff out. But I love the first one and I wasn't sure if I was going to or not, being, like a lifelong Star Trek fan.
I think everyone was like that about the Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
A little bit apprehensive because it's Star Trek, dude. There's a huge following.
Yeah, and how do you step into like William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy's roles?
How do you step into William Shatner?
Exactly, you copied them, with flattery, yeah.
Was that flattery?
Although,
for Chris Pine, yes, but okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say we're still waiting for Chris Pine's shirt to come off though. Then he'll be the Shatner Kirk.
Finally, you mentioned something I want to talk about.
That's true. They didn't work that into the first film, did they?
Well, we'll see next week and what
the
happens.
Kirk fan service, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. One I'm really looking forward to, and the more I see, the more I get excited. Is definitely Man of Steel.
Yeah,
dude.
Totally agree.
They don't
like they owe me money for the last one.
They don't market these movies that much because like they just want to keep it like on the low, but then all of a sudden that date just comes and Friday hits and that movie's in theaters and you're like, whoa, there's a huge line outside.
Yeah. What did you guys? I mean, like when that first trailer hit and there's that like that breaking the sound barrier shot and stuff. I mean, I got goosebumps. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah. You know what's actually doing it for me is what's his name? Commodus. What's the name?
Talking about
Russell Crowe.
I was about to be Joaquin Phoenix.
That's Jor-El, yeah.
Just his voice, it just sounds like Jor-El.
Yeah, that's Maximus, by the way, dude.
Yeah. You made that mistake too. See, I got it from you. No, but yeah, that
one of us.
I can also see Kevin Costner as his dad on Smallville.
Yeah,
and it looks I know it's a movie and everything, but it looks real. It looks a lot like The Dark Knight, where Christopher Nolan grounded it, but I hope it doesn't go as deep and as dark as Dark Knight.
I'm just tripping out that you got Russell Crowe and Kevin Costner in a movie together.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think one of the things that I wasn't expecting that I've seen some of the photos is like the design of like the Kryptonian armor and like the bad guys and stuff. And I was actually really like the design, and I just would have never thought of that kind of look being in a Superman film. So that is
it's
an
grittier.
added.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. It fits because they are aliens.
totally.
Yeah. Aliens have different fashion, I guess.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, different technology, and I'm glad that they're kind of rolling with that. So yeah, definitely that one's on my list. And now that I'm on with you guys, I'm completely blanking on all the other summer movies. But I know there's other stuff I'm excited about.
Well, so much for that, because I was about to ask you, what else is coming out?
We're very intimidating, so...
Yeah, we're talking to Gavin Hignight. He's a writer. He writes The Freak Table, Cronky Road, Motor City. He wrote also for Nickelodeon's TMNT, Iron Man, Armored Adventures. He also does marketing for FearNet. FearNet, I'm still trying to get on my provider because that's the one channel I want.
Who you with? Who you with right now? Comcast, AT&T?
No.
I have to ask, who's your provider?
DirecTV, satellite.
This is where we do the sale. Let's do the sale.
Yeah, so I got to get a package that actually gives me that channel.
Shut up, Rachel.
FearNet's actually not on Direct, but we are working hard to get on Direct.
That's why I can't get it.
Yeah, that's that's where we want to be.
Yeah. This could be industry politics. Oof.
Yeah, it's interesting. From what I've understood, it's all bandwidth at this point. There's just so many channels and so many people vying for that space that. Even with channels that people really want, you really have to kind of to fight to get in there. So, I've been on the road a lot, for FearNet this year, just talking to fans and, a lot that get us, and it's great. And then the fans that don't, we're just putting out that message. It's like, call your provider and let them know, because as cliche as it sounds, that's the best thing you can do.
You keep hitting them up. They got to get FearNet.
Yeah, they do note those calls. So.
And I really like FearNet too, myself. I got Comcast, and you guys are on it.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
and I'm gonna hate this because I guess that I can't get it. But what's happening on FearNet this month?
Oh yeah, well, I hate to torture you. There's two things I think coming up immediately that I'm personally really excited about, and of course the first is Battle Royale.
Ooh.
We're the first network to broadcast. It's a broadcast premiere, and it's the extended version that has I think there's 4 more minutes that a lot of people haven't seen on all the bootlegs and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but that's just still one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
And even though I've seen it a million
times. I've told
times.
so many people about it. Yeah.
It's pretty much Hunger Games, but
when that came out, I was all like, oh my gosh, yeah, have you guys ever seen Battle Royale? It's like that. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to see this film.
Totally.
The uniforms alone are worth it.
And I going into the Hunger Games, I was like, because I read the book and I was like, okay, well, this is valid. Hunger Games is valid on its own. She tells a different story, but it's still Battle Royale came first, and like that's just the way it is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty. I love that. I actually just I don't know if you guys saw Mondo did a Battle Royale poster. I just got my hands on one and got it framed, so I'm going to be sitting at home watching Battle Royale on TV with my poster up and being a total fan.
Will you guys censor anything, or does FearNet censor stuff?
They cut for TV. There's cut for TV. So, but that's usually just for nudity and language. We don't really cut for violence. So in a film like Battle Royale, it's essentially untouched. But then what we do is if there are films that are that are the censoring for TV or the editing for TV, I'll say, we feel like it butchers it. We always have video on demand.
Yeah. I was about to say, because on Comcast, I watch it on demand, and a lot of things aren't censored. Because when I go to free movies and I see horror movies, it's always FearNet related.
Yeah, so that's kind of the we have on the regular channel it's edited for TV, and on the VOD it's uncut or untouched. So
on demand.
And then I was going to just say the other thing with FearNet that I'm pretty excited about is Reaper. We got hold of Reaper. The CW had put on and basically never given a chance. So season 2 never aired, and now FearNet has both seasons 1 and 2 that are premiering, I think, on June 4th.
Nice. You guys are reaping the benefits.
There it is.
I see what you did there.
And that's one of those shows that I never, because I'm a workaholic, so I don't watch a lot of just prime time. I'd kind of missed it. And now that I'm watching it for work purposes, I'm like, oh my God, this show's awesome. Like, how did I not, get into this? So I don't know have you guys ever seen Todd and the Book of Pure Evil?
No.
That's like the best shit. Like, it's a horror comedy show that started in Canada, and FearNet picked it up for the U.S., and I love it. And Reaper kind of reminds me of that kind of mentality. So both of those shows definitely highly recommend.
Rachel doesn't like scary stuff.
Yeah, that's not my thing. But what I do like, I saw that you did your first graphic novel, Motor City. Well,
yes.
I'm from the Motor City, so I want to hear about this.
Well, Motor City, pretty much, I'm a big fan of like rockabilly and psychobilly movement and music, and I think I'm kind of like a greaser at heart. I love
hey,
little Fonz in me there, but
and some upright bass.
Exactly, slap the upright bass. But yeah, so Motor City it's kind of like all my favorite things combined into a graphic novel. It's like like kind of like old greaser gangs and fighting monsters. And when we made it, the goal was to try to do a hybrid of manga and American style comic. And be honest, I'd never do that again, because the manga fans didn't like it because it was too American, and the American fans didn't like it because it was too.
Do you read it from right to left? Is it?
This was you would read American style, so it was but the art style was very informed by manga, and it was a black and white. It was a valiant effort for a first graphic novel. From we made a Rebel Sidekick, which is our imprint, and. It did pretty well. The nice thing with comic books is if you get in with Diamond, you're pretty much in all the comic stores. So that was 2008, and it did pretty well. And essentially, Motor City is just about it's coming of age about the youngest member of this gang called the 133rd, and he finds out that in the whole idea in this world of Motor City is that. Stuff like demons and ghosts and ghouls are very commonplace. It's not something that's mystical. It's there, and it's something that people have to deal with. And so these human street gangs form to like protect their turf or their neighborhood from and there's a big play on like classic gang names. There would be like the ghouls or the shrieks and so in this case, if it's the ghouls, they're really ghouls, and it's just about the youngest member kind of coming of age and finding his place while defending the neighborhood and finding out that he's a part demon.
So is it kind of like Hellboy meets the Warriors, or?
I always when I was always pitching it around, I always said it's like The Outsiders, but with supernatural twist. So and we had written actually 3 graphic novels. We had just put out the one, and putting stuff out independently is so hard that there's definitely plans. We'll definitely do. Motor City Volume 2 and Volume 3, but it's a labor of love. I have to put them out when I can afford to put them out.
With passion.
Yeah, so, but I do very fond of it. And after Motor City, we moved in, we were like, okay, well, printing and publishing is so hard, especially in this like world where publishing is dying. We're like, let's do something completely different next. So that's when we veered into the concrete world. And I wanted to do something, I was like, okay, I did my classic monster, black and white kind of throwback. I was like, I want to move forward. Let's do something totally different. So I have a cyberpunk story, and it was the same artist, Jetty and I, and we started a webcomic. We're like, this comic's very futuristic. It's cyber. I was like, why not let it live on the web? And, we did that, for financial reasons too, because it's just so tough.
Of course.
Yeah, it's so tough to print. And the other thing, too, is by going webcomic, it gave us the ability to have full color, without having to worry about print cost and stuff. So Concrete World had been going for about 2 years. And, we didn't – it was a really rough schedule because we were getting out, between the two of us, 6 pages a month, without fail. And Jetty got busy and really started to kind of burn the candle at both ends, and eventually had to step away from Concrete World. And that's always tough when you've done 9 chapters with one artist, and then you have 3 chapters to go to finish a story arc. You're like, well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So I got together with a new team, and we've been working the last year to basically get the art style down to match what had previously come. And those new pages actually go up next week, which I'm really excited about, because we've basically been on hiatus for about a year, which is, you never want to do that. When you're lucky enough to get readers invested in a story you've created, and you don't have a marketing budget like Marvel or DC, so
you don't want to drop it. Yeah,
you don't. Yeah, you feel an obligation to just keep it going, and which is what Jetty and I did. But I'm really excited. We're launching, and the other thing too is, and we didn't plan it this way, but when we went on hiatus, it was a huge cliffhanger. One of the characters may or may not be dead, and then people find that out next week. So I'm glad to get back into the world.
Do you think, have you guys talked about doing a print version at this point to kind of help get that, all your fan base back, or get more people into it now that you're just coming back in?
Well, the goal has always been to do a print edition. I'm one of those people, I like reading books. I like having my bookshelf in my library. What we had hoped to do is basically, because there's, it's one full story arc. It's essentially 12 chapters. And we basically were, let's get it finished on the web and then shop it around to other, like indie comic book publishers and distributors, because I'm not really interested in publishing and distributing again myself, like we did with Motor City. Because, I like making stuff. I don't like selling stuff. And I really want to get it into the hands of the people who already have those.
You're like Iron Man. You're Tony Stark, dude.
I know. I just want to play. I know. I just want to sit in the armor and,
It's mine, all mine, not yours. Mine. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so definitely we want to get it out. But I definitely, the first story arc needs to finish. It will be a complete story. There is a, what's interesting about Concrete World is it's a noir. And as you know, no one really ever gets out alive or fully intact in a noir.
Yeah.
And, when we wrote it, it is a very dark story. It's about people in the future who are addicted to technology. They're addicted to virtual reality devices. And, they're crashing and burning to keep their habits up. And so there was never really a sequel planned. And then somewhere in the last 2 years, I don't know if you guys read stuff like, I always read Popular Science and Popular Mechanics. That's like totally inspires like the kind of stuff I write.
That's a good bathroom magazine, man. I will say that.
It totally is.
It makes you feel like you're so much smarter when you leave the bathroom.
Oh my God.
It's very true. You said it.
But you know the Boeing 737 can break the sound barrier? It's like, what?
Well, it's good for people to see having it, later on your house too. They're like, oh, this guy's informed and he likes science. But I really do mind that type of journalism for ideas. I love, future fiction, and I love, I kind of like love and I'm scared of future technology both, and that's kind of what I always write about.
Hey,
I was reading it and I got this idea, and so we definitely have a sequel for Concrete World, which would be the second story arc. So my goal, hopefully, is to get a graphic novel version out of the first story arc while we're promoting the second one on the web.
So is it like a digital comic that you go on and release first and then print it?
Yeah, like Concrete World. It's just at www.theconcreteworld.com, and it's it's a free webcomic, and every month we upload 6 new pages, and then every 18 pages makes a chapter. And we've received, we have really good readership, and we have a really good interaction with our fans on the site and then on the Facebook fan page.
Is it the Concrete World for Facebook also?
Yeah, I think it is. It's just facebook.com/theconcreteworld.
Okay.
Got to do the plug, Got to do the plug.
Official site as well. But yeah, it very much is. I think, it's not. I think what I'm realizing too is what I explore in comic books is never like typical superhero type stuff. Like I grew up on stuff like Vertigo. Like
Vertigo.
Yeah, I was the right age for that stuff. I just absorbed it.
Yeah, we're talking to Gavin Hignight. He's a writer. He wrote Freak Table. He writes The Concrete World, Motor City. He writes for Nickelodeon's TMNT. He wrote for Iron Man Armored Adventures. Out of all those things, is there anything that you don't do that you want to do that you can talk about?
Yeah. No, if I can, I will do it. Well, The Freak Table, I should mention, that's my first novel, and that came out in September. And it's not genre stuff, it's not superhero, it's not horror. It's just a coming of age book, basically about like what it's like to be in high school and weird before it was cool to be weird. So it's like pre-Nirvana, pre-internet. It's very much kind of informed by what myself and like the other kind of freaky kids that I grew up with.
I was going to say, so all of us, in other words.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's, and what's interesting is because I wrote it, with my generation in mind, I wrote it with, like like I said, I think they called us, what did they call us back then? I think they called us postmodern because alternative hadn't really been made up yet. But it's like, pre-Nirvana is how I was telling people like, oh, I get it. I was there and people were kicking my ass for wearing Doc Marten, stuff like that.
Hey, those are good shoes, man.
I know they're good and they're good if you have to fight.
A little expensive though, I'll say that, but hey, they're worth it. So Doc Marten, if you're listening, hey, you got a free plug.
Yeah, there you go. Send us some boots, guys.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, but so that's the Freak Table, and that's gone really well. And I think the one thing that's interesting that I've learned from writing that book is that it's still going on. That there's still every generation has that group of kids that are just completely ostracized and don't fit in. And I think I was a little naive and felt like, oh well, this is the internet age, and you can find anybody who's like-minded on the internet, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to fit in with people in high school because, like, if you're into anime, you can find someone on the internet who's into anime.
Just go to a chat room. Remember chat rooms?
Yeah. But I think there's always still that need to be accepted by the people around you, right? Or to fit in somewhere.
Yeah, immediately around you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not like they don't stop attacking. I think that's one of the big revelations I had. Because I talk to a lot of kids and stuff who read the book and who are going through what I went through then now. And I'm like, oh, but wait, the internet's like a weapon that's used against them. It's horrible, So
people are ruthless on the internet, man.
Yeah, they really are because, like, you can be a bastard and not have to do it to somebody's face, so you step it up a notch.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the Freak Table, I definitely, and we also just we just worked with Amazon, and prices are down. The book, is now available for I think it's $10 now from $14.99, and I'm excited about that because as a writer young in your career, you just want people to read your stuff. It's not about. It's not about, well, of course you want to break even and pay the rent, but that's why I do all kinds of work. And I'm so sorry, guys. I think there's like 4 ambulances driving by.
I figured you were in Motor City, so.
I'm actually calling you from a high-speed chase.
Awesome.
Hey, that driving and talking on the phone is pretty dangerous.
At stuntman, there's many things.
But I am using my hands free, so
you can add stuntman to your resume.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's Gavin Hignight. Gavin, thanks a lot for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. This was fun. We got to have you on for a whole show. We just got to make room because we're going to talk Firefly now.
Ooh. Oh, nice.
The brown coats. Not the California brown coats, but the actual brown coats. Got your attention now, huh? So stay right there. We'll be right back and talk Bronco. From FearNet and the writer of The Concrete World, Freak Table, Motor City, Gavin Hignight. GavinHignight.com for more information on or any updates on anything that's going on in Gavin's life. Again, very cool dude. And definitely a geek. You heard him geek out on there. We'll be definitely be having him on again. Yeah, if not, well, obviously not this year because unless I surprise you and he's on next week for the season finale. But we will definitely hear from Gavin again in 2014. So let's finish off the going back through memory lane of 2013 with a really fun interview. They've been in before. They're always a fun interview. The Winter Twins, Brittany and Brianna. They wrote The Strand Prophecy. I had them on. The first time I had them on was for that. As a matter of fact, for they were part of the book club. They were my selection, The Strand Prophecy. They came on this time around to talk about the second book and to say that they're working on the third novel for the Strand Prophecy. What is it? A trilogy, I guess we'll call it. And they also talked about the secret writing method. Not so secret, of course, because it's taught in schools and everything. But here's Brittany and Brianna, and that towards the end, it gets really fun because we do an impromptu award show. And I know you guys are voting on the ballot for the 2013 Year and Geek Awards. Let's see if the ones we pick are the ones that so far you've picked. If not, head on over, vote, and see if you agree with the Winner Twins, because here they are, Brittany and Brianna winner, the Winner Twins on the Geek Speak Show.
Hi, I'm Chris Hardwick. You are watching and or listening to Geek Speak Show. They're listening. You're consuming. You're watching it with your ears. Oh, you just listen.
We are back on the Geek Speak Show. Yeah. So Rachel will be here in just a few minutes. She borrowed a page from Joel this time because she actually doesn't have a book for the book club. Write it down on your calendar. First time she doesn't have a book.
What's today?
Probably a Star Wars book, like always anyway. So while we wait for her to find a book, let's talk to a couple of young ladies who not only do they read books, they've written books, they know all about books. They're the Winner Twins that went on before, Brittany and Brianna. Welcome back to the Geek Speak Show, ladies.
Thanks for having us. Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure.
Hey, girls, hey.
Pleasure having you back. Let's talk about those books. The Strand Prophecy is the one that I started reading last year. It's been out for a while. Without too many spoilers, tell us a little bit about the Strand books, the graphic novels, and everything else that goes with it.
All right. Well, we'll start with just a little summary of the first book. And the first one, we like to say, is about a scientist superhero with no powers who has to warn the world about rapidly evolving predatory creatures. So that's like our few-second summary.
It's about it's a scientist superhero with no powers. So we're really inspired by Batman and X-Men, and we just love the idea that someone can do something incredible, but with no actual superpowers. It's all technology.
No powers.
I know. But it's pretty awesome technology, so it kind of gives him powers.
He creates a technology that allows him to use 100% of his brain.
I think that is a power.
It's kind of a power. Then yeah, I guess it is a power.
But that wouldn't make that ruins the speech. If we acknowledge it's a power, we don't have our speech anymore.
It's not a power. That's true.
Well, for us especially, we can't have ruined speech because how do we do the show?
Exactly.
So it's not a power. No. So do you guys know what a nanofiber is?
No. Tell us. What is a nanofiber?
It's like a small metal string. So what he does is he takes the small metal strings. Which is really a complicated technology. It's just hard to explain in a fast manner. And he uses that to connect his brain pathways. So he's able to access parts of his brain he wasn't initially able to access.
And by doing that, having the brain grow around the nanofibers, he's able to use 100% of his brain.
And connecting to a skull cap, which is a different technology.
It's like a computer directly connected to the brain.
Exactly.
You guys are such twins, completing each other's statements and sentences. I love it.
Wow. So that's all I had to say.
It's pretty fun.
It's fun. So we were talking about in serious science fiction. Yes. So he connected the skull cap directly to his brain. So he's able to think thousands of thoughts at the same time, and he's increased intelligence.
With this hyper intelligence, he discovers something disturbing. This is where a little fantasy comes in, and we don't explain the origin to the third book, which is coming out next year. That solar radiation is going to cause a rapid evolution or mass mutation, that every living thing is going to evolve. So for animals, that means the largest food source. And for humans, that can mean, it could mean the largest food source, it could mean the environment, but it also could mean your psychological state.
Ooh, tell me more.
So if you're a monster on the inside, if you're aggressive, that will show. If you, it could also, I'll give you another example about the environment. Let's just say you like to swim a lot. You may grow gills. Did you just growl?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going aggressive right now because of the solar flare that just happened.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, we'll go with that.
So that's the premise of the first book. Our hero has to warn the world about it because it's being covered up. No one knows about it. It's a low level of radiation, so it's not as obvious yet. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a sci-fi action movie in book form, we like to say.
And I'll throw in, I've read the first two books, and without giving too much away, it does have the sci-fi elements, the superhero elements, but it also has a family element because it's a story about a father and a daughter that's in there also if you're into that. Like I said, won't give too much of that away because you guys got to pick it up and find out for yourselves. And book 3 is you're working on it now, you said, right?
Yes, actually, we're coming out with a new book in the next couple of months, which is called PCT, or Perfect Compatibility Test. And that's the next one we're going to come out with. And then it will be Strand 3.
Because we're going to be finishing up the Strand trilogy. Before we finish it up, we wanted to release a first in a new trilogy.
Just kind of get things moving along.
Right.
Yeah, so a little break before Strand. So, and we're talking to the Winter Twins, the Brittany and Brianna. They're America's youngest multiple award-winning authors. They're officially recognized as prodigies by the World Council for Gifted and Talented Children. Not the same as being students at Professor Xavier School, but probably a little bit cooler than that.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Winter Twins, the secret writing method. It's taught in schools, not too secret. Tell us what that's all about.
All right. Well, for years we toured and we spoke about our novels, and we tried to motivate others to motivate, especially other teens and children, to have an interest in literacy, in writing and reading. And they'd always ask us what our writing method was, and we'd always say it's a secret, until one day we realized, wait, why are we keeping this a secret? We're trying to motivate other people to write, and we're not telling them what we've learned. This is a bit silly. And Comic-Con asked us to teach our writing method a few years back, and we did, and
it went so well, we decided to come out with a book for it. So it was started at Comic-Con, and we started teaching it in the schools. Now, our writing method's a little bit different. We actually reverse engineer our story from the end.
And then we go to the beginning.
And in the middle. So say at the end, he survives. The beginning would be the opposite.
It's just another day.
And the middle would be a logical progression. Something dangerous would have to happen.
Now you're probably thinking, wow, that's so basic. And some of you that have very complicated universes, I'll take the example. I'll take Lord of the Rings as an example. I mean, that's pretty epic. You can't fit Lord of the Rings into, the end, beginning, and middle. That's too simple. Well, totally right, except we start on a basic level and build from there. Also, another positive side with starting with the end is you always know where it's going. So it really helps with overcoming writer's block.
Yeah, and for example, if you have a large universe, like I always use my Laser Cat universes. We have, I actually had someone talk to me about this. They had a Laser Cat universe with hundreds of different species of laser cats, and each cat had a different ribbon that decided on the power it had. I'm dead serious about this Laser Cat universe.
You know what? It's kind of genius.
I'm not sure if someone told me or I made it up. You know what? The likelihood is I made it up, but here we go. So my Laser Cat universe, at the end, so what happens? I have thousands of different species of laser cats. How can I put this in your writing method? Okay, but what happens at the end of your story? Well, they win the war. There we go. Ta-da!
At the beginning, what happens? They are taken into slavery by another laser cat.
Ta-da!
Some things.
So everything's fine. They're taken into slavery. They end up winning a war.
And rebelling.
Ta-da! You have
that's
your
how you
story.
start, and then you build the universe from there.
And then we also separate the creative and editing processes. So first draft, it's whatever comes out. So Wild West.
So we have more secrets in our book, but that's a little summary.
Yeah, if you get us started teaching, we will teach all day about creative writing.
In fact, I don't think we'll ever stop, so it's kind of good we stop now, don't you think?
Actually, I was gonna say that's a good thing.
No
not
comment.
just the secret writing method, but also just the fact that you're teaching writing. Period. Because this is my opinion. See what you guys think. I blame Twitter and text and all that stuff. Written communication is going the way of the dodo, with misspellings and shortening things up. At least you guys are telling kids, learn how to communicate. Because in business, that is going to help you. Learning how to writing memos, things like that. You're not always going to communicate by, LOLs and things like that.
One of my favorite parts about writing is that the more you write, the better you get. And this is Brittany, by the way. With me, and I have dyslexia. It's part of, you read a little bit more about it, it explains everything. But with my dyslexia, it makes it very hard to spell. But when I started texting around my middle school years, my spelling improved, which is kind of interesting because I had to really think, are they going to be able to understand what I'm saying?
It also helped with MMORPGs, online when we had part of a guild and stuff, and that helped spelling as well.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. In some ways, modern technology is, it's not good for obvious reasons, but there's also a lot of plus sides.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna, especially as a science fiction writer, both of us aren't going to say it's all texting's fault. It's definitely not helping, but it's.
Well, the kids are writing these days.
Yeah, and the other thing that's the most important part, and the great thing about creative writing, which we teach kids, is the more you write creatively, the better you'll get at essay writing, or the more you write essays, the better you'll get at creative writing. Because what writing really is your thoughts on paper and learning how to organize them in your brain to be able to share that with other people.
I also think, I do have an interesting thought here. I'm Brianna.
Go for it, Brianna.
Go for it, Brianna.
Go, Brianna.
Woo! So
philosophical thought for the day.
Yeah.
All right.
So you got me distracted there. I have ADD, so that's mean, Britt. That's mean. What? No, I'm
Do you remember what you were going to say?
Yes, I know exactly what I was going to say.
Good to say.
Okay.
5.
No, that's mean.
Philosophical thought of the day, Brianna. Go.
Okay, Britt. By the way, Brittany is the evil twin. I want that to be clear to everyone.
I'm also the cute one.
She's not the cute.
A lot of twin talk.
Just look at their headshot. You can tell.
Okay, Brandon, go for it. Go for your philosophical thought.
I think the evil twin's more on the left.
I don't think necessarily the problem with kids and teens not having interest in writing would necessarily be texting or modern technology's fault. I would have to blame culture itself, because there's maybe J.K. Rowling, but there's no writers out there. No one. When you see a movie as a child, and you see a TV show or you listen to a song, you don't connect in your mind that song and that movie and that TV show and that video game were written down.
Yeah, had to be written first.
Writing. It's all creative writing, and that's what we try to say when we talk to kids and teens. Like, you know what? How many of you play Halo? How many of you like the Avengers? How many of you like Taylor Swift? Whatever. And they'll all raise their hands. We like that. And then we'll say that was all written down, and they'll have this look on their face like, I never thought about it. And it changes the culture. Creative writing. Okay, that's
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, even something like as simple as Angry Birds had to be written down first for actually, you're throwing the birds at the pigs. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, writing is a big part of culture.
Imagine the pitch on that too. So we're gonna have these birds, and they're gonna be in a slingshot. We're gonna put them in different hats. The pigs, different hats. So
sounds weird, but hey, look at the result.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of those conversations myself in my time.
Yeah. So have we. But it's pretty fun.
It all starts with these
laser
crazy
cats.
Laser cats.
Yeah.
That's Brittany and Brianna, the Winter Twins. You can go to the website, wintertwins.com, go to our link section. You can go there. Everything is on there for you. Talk about something else you guys formed called Motivate to Learn, the number 2, to motivatetolearn.org, also on our links page. But talk about that, you guys.
Well, Britt and I, we're science fiction authors. We've written 4 novels.
Really?
And in order to do that, we had to overcome our dyslexia. So we were very inspired from the beginning to try to help other people have, especially, kids and teens, have an interest in literacy and writing and reading. And through our nonprofit, we teach our creative writing method in order to help them with, share our writing tricks we've learned, help them write themselves, and to
inspire them to overcome anything. Because in 4th grade, as we said before, our learning disabilities start to show up, like dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADD. Woo! ADD! And we started to feel really bad about ourselves. And we went to our dad and said, Dad, you know what? We're stupid. Especially with bullying in school. We're really stupid. We can't do anything. And he said, you're not stupid. I'm going to prove it to you. You guys are going to write a novel. And we always had a passion for science fiction. So this was just a natural progression. And we ended up 9 months with school and homework, with the speech-to-text program.
And then now we only type.
Now we only type, but 9 months later we had a book. And so when we got our first check-in, I was actually in 5th grade. I was in 5th grade. We've been doing this for about 6 years now. And I'm sitting there in special ed.
That's Britt.
Yeah, this is me. I'm Britt. And I'm sitting there in special ed, and I'm helping they had this thing where they have the older kids help the younger kids read, because we both had reading dyslexia. And so I'm sitting there, and we're both struggling through Dr. Seuss. And I realized, wait a minute. I feel better about myself now, but who's going to help him? you know? So I decided to take, actually I went to Brianna and said, Brianna, what do you think about doing assemblies on this? And she was right on board. And we took all of our money, and we still do most of it, and we put it back into our nonprofit to help people.
Yeah. And I'm glad you guys you laugh about it now, but honestly, I can say most creative types, most people think we have ADD. I mean, take me for example. When I'm planning things with the whole staff here, they think I have ADD because the ideas just fly fast and furious, and I'm talking about this, and we got to do this, and this, and we got to do this, and like
laser cats.
Yeah. So we've spoken to J.J. Abrams before. He's exactly the same way too. But I think it's the fact that you're so creative that your thought just go faster than your mouth sometimes is what it is.
Definitely. I understand that more than you know.
Yeah, your brains are always somewhere else, but I think it's interesting when you take that somewhere else, you kind of explore it, write it down, you've got a science fiction universe.
Yeah, it's a fun somewhere else.
It's fun! Yeah, it's fun. I think in our house, the joke is with Brianna, when we all find inner peace one day, Brianna will all be floating there looking at us like, where have you been? I've been here for a long time.
Yeah. Speaking of fun, let's have a little bit of fun with the Winter Twins. First, let's talk about a little fun you guys had a few weeks ago. You guys got about the Geeky Awards. Talk about that. How was that like?
The Geeky Awards was an amazing experience. We presented an award with Richard Hatch
of Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, what?
So that was pretty awesome.
And the Nerd Machine ended up winning the award. We were the best retail store.
So we handed the award to them.
And it was pretty great because Brianna and I and Richard, we were all worried. We didn't know when we were going to come on because during the practice we were kind of all distracted having fun talking. So we didn't exactly know when we were coming on. So on like award 2, we're like award 12 or 10. And so we ran up and we're standing there, backstage for like an hour.
Outfit change.
Yeah, it was a very, very fun thing.
Richard's awesome.
And we made instant friends.
Yeah, we made a lot of friends, and we danced till 3. It was pretty cool.
We danced with, the black nerd?
Mm-hmm.
We danced with Andre.
Hello, Andre. I know he listens.
He's an awesome guy.
He's awesome. We danced with so many. It was the after party was full of the, geek elite culture, and we were all dancing to dorky 80s songs.
And it was very fitting. Considering it was geek culture, it was...
Yeah, and the problem was the DJ wouldn't put on any modern songs, so it was
like... We started going back to the 50s.
No MC Hammer?
No.
It was like...
No, not even that good. I had to go and talk to him. I'm like, hey, do you mind if you put on something made in the last 60 years?
Can you put the Macarena on, please?
Yeah, I believe that was played. But overall, it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life to be around people in geek culture and to recognize the independent artists that really need recognition, and they were able to, it was really to celebrate them and the hard work that they've done.
Yeah.
And that
it was the first. I mean, we weren't there. We watched it online, like a lot of people did. It was the first one. Hopefully, it turns into an annual thing now. But let's do our very quick impromptu awards right now. Let me ask you guys your opinions from so far. What you think best movie? Who would you give it to for this year?
This year?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Only one.
Now we can't say Hobbit or Thor because they're not out yet, or Ender's Game because they're not out yet. But it's just that's why I said so far from the big summer movies that we've had.
I haven't seen Riddick, so I don't know if I can.
Well, that's okay. I haven't either. I'll probably see it this weekend.
Oh man, and I love Pitch Black.
The theater was Pitch Black.
Want Pitch Black. I love Pitch Black. Oh wait, what was I talking about?
I couldn't see Riddick. It was just so dark.
So, the Winter Twins. Who would you guys give it to if you had to award a best movie right now?
I loved Man of Steel.
Okay, so can we pick 2 different movies because we are?
Yeah. And that's Brianna.
Though Man of Steel was great, I'm going to pick Star Trek Into Darkness.
Uh-oh. See, I go with the Man of Steel Into Darkness. Honestly, I wasn't very happy with that. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. But
I've heard the opposite from some geeks too.
I'm gonna go with Man of Steel because I just love Superman, and we grew up with a Superman collection. My dad has hundreds of sculptures of Superman in our house, original. So when Superman died, it was a big deal in our house.
Yeah, you guys had a funeral.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, I did too.
Did you ever read the comics?
You bury a comic book. Oh yeah, definitely.
No, I mean, I don't know. You're the same way. I had one just last year when Peter Parker died in the comic book. So yeah, that is what we do.
Bury the comic book in the
Oh my
in the
god,
backyard.
he's dead. So I remember that was like a big deal. But
Spoiler
when
alert
I
in case somebody didn't know.
just loved what they did with Krypton, and I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at the old Superman stuff, he's in spandex.
Mm-hmm.
But to make him that awesome, maybe you're kind of convincing me here, because Superman, what they did with it, it's great. I'm a big Superman fan. It's Brianna, by the way, but it's with each new movie they have to reintroduce Superman to a new audience in a way that's gonna have to be sort of believable, and you have to be able to suspend your belief to it. And I think they did a really good job with that. Benedict Cumberbatch was so good as Khan. He's just so good. And I just love that. I have an interesting Star Trek Into the Darkness story. This is Britt.
Yeah, go ahead.
So everyone decided to see the movie without me. Everyone in the household. I didn't see Star Trek Into the Darkness until 2 months after it came out. Into Darkness, thank you.
Wait, you had to go by yourself?
I had to find, a friend of mine, we didn't actually know each other very well, but she had already seen, it was a fellow geek, and I'm like, have you seen it? It's like, yeah, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again. So we ended up seeing it and getting crepes. We didn't even know each other. Now we're good friends, but Star Trek Into the Darkness brought us together in our friendship. Into Darkness, thank you. Into the Darkness? Yes. So, but I had to see it. I'm like, I asked everybody, have you seen it? Yes. Have you seen it? Yes. So I had to find someone who wouldn't mind seeing it the 6th time.
Okay, this is going to be good. We're going to talk about Into Darkness in just a little bit, but let me continue on with this quick award thing here. Best TV show or show you're most looking forward to. Who would you give that to?
Ooh, you know what? I haven't seen Hannibal yet, but everyone says I need to see it. And I'm excited for S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm excited for S.H.I.E.L.D. Brittany's excited for Hannibal.
Okay, what about best geek culture podcast, blog, or YouTube channel? I mean, you guys mentioned Andre, but yeah, you'll probably give it to him. But any other ones that you would give it to?
We have we can pick 2 different ones here. I'll choose Gavin, and you'll choose Andre.
Oh no, I have to think about it. Oh no, but there's so many good ones. I know Gavin. That was
a blast.
We were just on there, and that was a blast. It was 2 hours, and I listened to it for 2 hours, and it was just very fun. Web series. Can you pick web series too?
Yeah.
I don't see
wait, web series as opposed to podcast? This isn't fair. There's too many to pick from. This is torture.
Kristen's Skyrim parodies are pretty awesome.
And then you have the Guild, and who doesn't love the Guild?
Oh, the Guild's great. Oh no.
How can we pick from all of our friends?
Can we pick you guys?
You sure can. How about we
We're
just
gonna
give it
pick
to everybody? How about that?
Let's just give it to us.
Yes, we're gonna give it to everybody. Because we'll filibuster.
Okay, so to finish off, this is what I was talking about. To finish off, let me give you a couple of topics. We'll show you guys. Most of you guys already know, who know them, who read their books. You know they're the real thing. They grew up in geek culture. They speak geek culture. It comes out of them. You're hearing it right now. So let's talk about some big topics of the past few weeks. This is from last year, actually. Star Wars being bought by Disney. What did you guys think of that?
I thought it was great. A natural progression. I'm excited to see the next movie, and I think they're going to do a good job.
It's a logical next
step. They needed to expand, and I'm excited that I'm looking forward to one day a Star Wars theme park.
Yes.
You better copyright that idea before someone swoops on that.
Don't worry, they've already thought of it.
And the B part to that is the new Star Wars movies and JJ being announced as director. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's also logical. They're gonna. I can understand Disney's perspective in trusting the reboot of one of the, if not the biggest sci-fi franchise ever. You're gonna have to trusting it to someone that also rebooted another franchise, did a great job with it,
and he does such a good job with his films. I am forgetting the name of it. Super 8 was beautiful. Star Trek is beautiful. Fringe was awesome. All of his TV shows are great. I'm really looking forward to it. And George Lucas is still involved. And I'm sure whatever the next movie is probably the idea has been there for maybe 20 years.
See, now I had this written down. I'm glad you guys mentioned it a minute ago. What did you think of Star Trek Into Darkness?
I loved it. And when I finally got to see it, I loved it.
That sarcasm hurt, Brett.
Because everyone went without me.
You didn't want to go.
It gave you a better story and it gave you a better emotional experience when you finally watched
Yeah,
it.
I'm able to complain about it.
And make me feel guilty.
If I'm able to complain. You know how many people saw that? Everyone had seen that movie. But it was really great. When I was finally there, I'm like, Con! No way! And I'm like,
See, and now I'll tell you now what I thought of it. We had a whole show about it. We had Roddenberry on, and we talked about that. But I liked it as a movie. Phenomenal movie. And I've always been a big JJ fan anyway. But phenomenal. I can't talk now. Great movie. I'll put it that way. But
it's making me think a lot. As
part of the franchise, it missed the mark only because of who it is. Because it's JJ, the Bad Robot people. I expected a lot more from them. And the 2009 Star Trek, the reboot, was perfect because with the alternate timeline, you can take it literally anywhere you want. Why redo the best of all the Star Trek films? That's why. Like I said, I liked it as a movie, but it's just because of who directed and who wrote and who was behind the scenes. I was disappointed. It was very lazy writing to me. Was what it was.
interesting. There was a philosophical element that all the other Star Trek have that I saw that was lacking, but they really had to try to introduce it to a larger audience.
Yeah.
And although as Trekkies, we can say, wait, we all want this.
We're purists.
We're purists, and I think it's almost maybe you have to sacrifice a little bit so more people can get into it and we can continue making more.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that, Britt.
Oh,
I thought it.
Uh-oh, ding ding.
What?
No, I mean, it's. I thought the philosophical element was there, and I think that the fact that they went back and reintroduced a newer audience to the classic Trek lore is absolutely vital for the continuation of the franchise.
Okay, that was a good point, and I happen to agree with you now.
You have to introduce it. Is it going to be the original Khan? No, because it's a different movie. However, it did a really good job at introducing people to the Klingons and to Khan and to the dynamics of the ship.
I'm not admitting to this, but I might have been crying when the Klingons came on screen. Maybe.
I admit to nothing and deny everything. And that was Britt, by the way, who may have not or may have admitted that.
I'm like, yay! Oh, she's speaking Klingon! Oh my god! Yeah, so
some dust went in her eye. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was just dust. And it was so late. It was only me and, some 75-year-olds that were sitting in the back. And then my friend who had seen it like the 7th time. So that was it, because I'd seen it so late. But it was...
so that's Star Trek Into Darkness. Now, a big one, because I know you two are fans. Ben Affleck as Batman.
Ben-Man.
Oh. We have controversial opinions. You should start.
You should start and say your opinions first so we can disagree. I mean...
What?
You first.
Well, we talked about it last week. Me, honestly, I'm holding judgment until I actually see the movie, because like I mentioned on the show, I don't think that you can really judge. You can kind of, but you can't really judge an actor's performance on what he's done before, because every role is different. So, I said I'm not happy. I'm not disappointed. I'm not Zack Snyder. You ruined my Batman. I don't know. I have to see it. So that's what I'll say.
Oh, actually, this makes this a little less fun because you didn't say something inflammatory and go back at you, but that's okay. We'll continue.
We agree. I know a lot of people were very upset and freaking out. What? How dare he?
But they did the same thing to Heath Ledger as the Joker.
And I'm sure I think he's going to do an awesome job.
We trust Christopher Nolan.
Yep, I always say, in Nolan we trust.
Indeed.
In Nolan we trust. So, and I think he did a great job. Oh, I'm forgetting his movie.
Inception.
Batman.
Dark Knight.
The Ben Affleck's movie that just won the Oscar.
Argo.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great.
He's a really good actor.
He's great. It might be really, really, really great. And the classic, I love Man of Steel. And I would love to see how they're going to put Batman and Superman together. And if anything, to see the comic books that I've read my entire life come to screen is really a dream come true.
Yeah, I mean that was my feeling when I was watching all the Marvel movies and culminated last year in Avengers. Now I want to see the same thing for the DC characters.
Heck yes. And, The Dark Knight is a brilliant series, and it's wonderful. But, I don't understand why you can't just make those, like separate franchises. That's one version of Batman. Superheroes are larger than life.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why you can't remake them over and over again and enjoy the characters.
In different settings to a different audience, a different generation.
Okay, so unless I'm missing the point, you guys, both of you are okay with Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah,
we're fine with it.
fine.
Yeah, see, this makes it so much less dramatic.
We were on Gekken and they were not happy, and so we were like, "Oh, we can cause trouble."
Yeah, I heard that show. Now,
say whatever you want.
The last one I'm going to give you is a big one. This is why I saved it for last. Not the best, but I'll save the best for last. We did a whole show on this a few months ago, and that is the fake geek girls topic. So give your thoughts on that.
Sexist! Sorry, what? I didn't hear your question. Sexist!
Oh, come on! Really? Come on! Aren't we a culture that's supposed to be inclusive? Weren't we the ones that were
all inclusive?
Weren't we the ones excluded? And that's the reason we started this to begin with? And now we're excluding? I'm sorry. Okay, the passion is out of it. I'm going to meditate now.
Wait, how do you really feel?
You know what? I get that all the time, and I kept wondering why they asked me that. That was a joke. Everyone's supposed to laugh now. Thank you.
I don't understand it.
With geek culture, the reason why I love it is that it's a place for people who, place like for me, I'm passionate about so many different things and so many geeky things that when I walk into Comic-Con or walk into the Geeky Awards or even a comic book shop, we all understand each other and we have the same interests.
You're among family.
And we're all inclusive. I think that quote unquote fake geek girls it's a good sign that our culture is growing and people are trying to hop on the boat to get some fame or popularity from it.
So I think it may be a symptom of geek becoming chic, because these people that have been a part of the culture for a long time think that person isn't like me or my buddy, therefore, that's wrong, they're fake, it's this. Also, I want to bring up, it's a girl, therefore that's something wrong with that. And
we started getting that when we were at Comic-Con this year, especially, we're 18 now and we're starting to look a little bit older. We started to get some very interesting and disturbing comments, and the way people treated us are different at Comic-Con. Oh, you write science fiction? Ha ha ha, very cute, right? They didn't actually believe it. They don't think, we can actually, we actually know about gold making.
Or that we have any sort of intelligence at all.
Yeah.
And they treat you as such, and it's quite insulting.
So I think what we got to do is not to focus on that and to move past it, because it's not true, and to, I think, just ignore it and to ultimately be yourself and to stay true to who you are, because you'll prove them all wrong.
And hopefully, us and girls like Kristen, the one that started the Geeky Awards, and Felicia Day, Bonnie Burton, other geek girls will pave the way, and it's geek girls, there are more of them than one would initially think. This is not necessarily a male-dominated subculture anymore.
No,
and that's changing.
It isn't. See, and I'll say, I don't know if you guys listen to this show, the Geek Speak show, on a regular basis, but that's one of the reasons why a lot of people like it, because it's not just Joel and myself. I have Rachel, of course. Me? We have Jessica. We have Michelle. We have a lot of geek girls who actually know their stuff, and their voices are loud and proud on the show. They're not just in the back giggling at whatever we say. I let them host by themselves. I feature them a lot, and people like that because we're giving them a voice, we're giving them a show. A lot of these shows, unfortunately, they don't have the female fan point of view, and that's sorely missing in podcasts and blogs and things like that.
Well, actually, I can say that's actually a positive thing, because there's definitely a open market for geek girls, and it's there. And as I said, after we turned 18. We really started to step up our game because we could, and into geek culture and geek girl culture. So that's really what we've been, repositioning ourselves as, or just, that's actually what we do. We come on Another interview next week, same thing. We're here as geek girls talking about geeky things and giving our opinions. And I think my prediction is that geek girls are really going to step up to the plate and blow everyone's minds.
You go,
And
girl.
I think the culture will change, and we're only at the beginning of it. Geek culture is young. Geek culture is young, and we are ever evolving.
We started out as
We're
the
evolving.
Exactly. We started out as the nerds in the back of the classroom.
But now we're the ones making the movies.
And, like, look at Mark Zuckerberg, We're the ones with all the money making movies, and ultimately our culture decides and makes and breaks a lot of Hollywood and most of Hollywood things. And in general, TV shows, movies, books, technology.
Yeah, I was going to say, all these shiny toys we have, who do you think makes those?
Exactly. Geek
got the money.
Geek is becoming chic, and that ruffles a lot of feathers. Some people think they want to be purist about it, and they think, oh, that girl is, she's blonde, therefore she can't be a geek. Allow me to put like a funny sticker on her and run away. It's like, really? What's wrong with you? Just because you're blonde doesn't mean anything. I believe that this culture is supposed to be inclusive.
Actually, that just makes us hipsters.
Ah, indeed.
But we could be hipsters, and I think we are a little bit hipstery. We liked this first, so they can't like it. So, there. What?
We're trendsetters. We're trendsetters. That's what we are.
Exactly. So, I think what we should all do is just, open our arms to all different types of geekiness and let them, see if they really are geeky. If not, keep going. That's my opinion.
I don't really think it matters. You want to call yourself a geek? Fantastic. Let's all geek out together. If not, cool. What's the big deal?
Exactly what we do every single week here on the show. So she's Brittany and Brianna, the Winter Twins. WinterTwins.com, motivatetolearn.org. They're all on our link section. Ladies, thanks a lot for coming back on, taking the time. You are welcome back anytime to geek out about whatever. We'll definitely have you on in 2015 when we get to see Superman and Batman and see what you thought of it then.
Of course, and thank you so much for having us. It is always a pleasure.
So finishing off our look back at 2013, well, a few of the fun interviews that we had. All of them were fun. All of them were great. Again, this isn't to say that these interviews that you just heard were better than everybody else. Everybody was good, but these were just a little extra special, extra fun. And just thought I'd be playing for you guys again. So those were the Brittany and Brianna, the Winter Twins. WinterTwins.com for more information and updates on anything that they are working on, their appearances. Anything winter will be right there, WinterTwins.com. So that's a quick look back at the year that was, at 2013. Next week will be the season finale for season number 4 of the Geek Speak show. It will be a new episode. I'm not going to replay things. It'll be a new episode. I'll have guests. I know who they are, but I'm going to leave it as a surprise for you guys as you're enjoying your turkey, you're enjoying your pumpkin pie, whatever it is you're eating, put us in the background and we will accompany you over your Thanksgiving dinner, okay? And don't forget, first of all, thanks to all of you who submitted either an idea or a podcast for the Geek Speak Podcast Network. We've got plenty. We've got all of you. It's all set to launch in January, second week of January 2014. I'll slowly start rolling out the shows, and you will hear not just the Geek Speak show, but also some other shows. It is all geeky, of course, but it's a lot of different things. There are, well, again, see, I was gonna tell you what they are, but again, I'm gonna let it be a surprise. Second week of January 2014, the Geek Speak Podcast Network slowly rolls out. You sound like Optimus Prime there. So there's a look back at 2013. Like we say every single week, one last time in 2013. Come on back next week and we will speak one last time more geek.
Henry and the gang will return next week with an all-new episode. The Geek Speak show is powered by GeekTyrant.com, Mightyville.com, RamasScreen.com, Zergnet.com, and Collider.com. Make sure you're subscribed on iTunes, follow them on Twitter
at Geek Speak Show 1,
become a fan on Facebook, and watch event coverage on YouTube/Geek Speak videos. See you next week. Cheerio.
The Geek Speak Show.